you are here for our concurrent panel with Q&A, Influencing Culture Through Your Everyday Life. What can you do? I'm Erika Decaster. I'm the Vice President of Big Ocean Women, and I will be the chair for this session. I'm really grateful to have been asked to chair this session today because the work that these three women have been doing over many years relates very closely to my research and work in positive deviance and grassroots solutions for communities in the developing world. So we've got this overlap of experience and expertise, and I'm excited to be able to present these women to you. So here at my right is Wendy Sheffield, Chantal Carr, and Kelli Houghton. Great. And they will each be speaking to us, and then we'll have an internal Q&A where I will ask them a few questions, and they may ask each other some questions, and then we'll open it up to the group. So we're going to start with Kelli Houghton, and I'd like to read you a little bit about her expertise and experience. Kelli Houghton has been an active member of United Families International since 2000 and currently serves as a member of the UFI Board and VP of Family Programs. Mrs. Houghton has served as the Director of International Voice for Youth and Director of International AIDS Program Stay Alive. She has attended various United Nations conferences in New York, Geneva, Switzerland, and has presented at the International Global Health Conference in Washington, D.C. Mrs. Houghton has a master's degree in social work from Arizona State University and has a great interest in policies and programs related to preserving families and protecting children. She is a hospital work social administrator. Kelli and her husband, Dr. Carl Houghton, have been married for 25 years and have 4 children. Please welcome Kelli Houghton.
Hey, welcome. You found our room in the very awesome. Yeah, I didn't think anyone would come down the maze, so thank you. Appreciate that for coming. So, like I said, I'm Kelli Houghton. I'm a counselor, social worker. I'm with United Families International and have been for 15 years. I've been involved in supporting the family through nonprofit work, volunteering for about 15 years now. So, and I really enjoy the work. So, advocacy. That's kind of what we wanted to talk to you guys about. How do you be an advocate? What is advocacy? It's to speak or write in favor of, support or urge by argument, recommend publicly, a person who speaks or writes in support of defense of a person or a cause, a person who pleads for or in behalf of another. And that's what I think we're all here at the World Congress. We're trying to learn new skills that we can be a voice, that we can be an advocate. Something that's happened with me through the last 15 years is probably the #1 question I am asked when people understand that I'm involved in advocating for the family is, honestly, probably like 99% of the time is, I want to do that, but I don't know how to do that. What do I do? How do I do? I've attended the last 2 World Congresses of Families and in Madrid in Australia, and the thing that I felt was missing was people learn a lot of information, but what do they do after they learn the information? How do you put this in motion? So we're your motion committee right here. And so what we wanted to do was talk about you, okay? We're going to share our personal stories, but this presentation isn't about us. It's about you. It's what are you going to do? What is going to inspire you to take this information, and how are you going to impact the world with the information that you have and the desire that you have to do something. So as we're presenting, I want you to just grasp some elements of our story and see how it applies to you, how it resonates with your own talents, your own skills, your own abilities, your own communities. So you can find your voice. I love this quote by Edmund Burke. All that is necessary for the triumph of evil is that good men do nothing. And this is my quote below, and this came from my UN experiences because I realized at the United Nations, or all of us have, that while those of us who were in favor of protecting the family or family values. While we were home taking care of families, they're out, the people that don't agree with us are out changing policies and laws. So we're not doing something, right? So my quote is, while you are doing nothing, someone else is doing something. And that's when there's always someone in motion. Who's the person in motion? Is it us? Is it people that embrace your values, or is it someone else who opposes your values? There's always someone in motion. So are you in motion? So I was going to tell my story about how I got involved in advocacy. So I was in high school in New Hampshire, and I had this desire to be in pageants. So I'm not sure why, because someone said, why did you do pageants? I'm like, I'm not really sure. But you got a lot of good gifts when you place, so that was a positive. So I learned a lot of good skills, and one of the skills I did learn was you had a platform, or you were asked a question, or to give your opinion about something, and I chose to talk about my brother. So this was back in the 80s, when having disabilities and handicapped children were actually not being mainstreamed into schools, and there was still a lot of negative feelings towards them, or fearful feeling towards disabled children. And so this is, we call him Commander Carl. So I decided I wanted to start talking about how wonderful it was to have a disabled family member, right? And so when I did that, I all of a sudden realized that people actually were listening to me, and they'd come up and talk to me about it, and they cared about what I was saying. And I'm like, oh, okay, maybe I do have a voice. Maybe I can share information. So I went on to get my my Girl Scout Gold Award that is equal to an Eagle. I would say, because most people don't know what a Girl Scout Gold Award is, and I said it's like the Eagle. So everyone knows what an Eagle is. And I continued this platform of talking about mainstreaming disabled children into schools, and people, and breaking down these fearful barriers. And when I did that experience, I realized that I could impact a community, that I actually got to witness people change their perception because of what they learned, what they experienced. So I was able to provide education so people weren't fearful of what they were looking at, like a disabled child or something that was unknown to them. I realized that fear could be dissolved, that a lot of times it's because they're missing information. They become fearful of what they don't know. So I was taking away the fear. And I really didn't have to really impact the whole community. Even if I impacted one person, that was one person that changed their perception. And I did realize that one person can make a difference, even a teenage girl. Years later, like I would go into the schools and I taught it. I brought in like handicapped children at this elementary school, and they, even if I went back to my hometown, there were kids who'd still talk to me about it. Like, I remember when you came and you taught us. And there was one particular experience where we had, I think it was a boy with cerebral palsy, that we actually brought in so the kids could experience with him, and the mom talked about having a child with cerebral palsy. And you could tell when the kids came in, they were so scared of him. By the end, they were coming up, they were touching him, they were talking to him, they were laughing with him. It was just breaking those barriers, clarifying miscommunication. So this is me and Commander Carl 25 years later. So he's my buddy. I think he's in the back somewhere. Yeah. Hi, Commander Carl. He's back there. He's waving. So he's the one who really, because I was so passionate about my desire to make the world better for him, that I was able to create that voice. And I learned, like I said, through that process, that they do care about what I say. I'm just one person, but they care what I say. So this is my family, and I have 2 daughter-in-laws now, as of last summer. We need to add up in the picture. But everybody needs to find what motivates them. Every single person is going to have a different desire of what motivates you. So my question to you is, what motivates you? So for me, it's my spiritual beliefs, it's my family, and it's my experiences out in the community, it's my experiences in my professional world, it's my experiences at the United Nations, where I have formulated beliefs that family values are important to our community, to our nation, to our world. I have experienced that firsthand and seen that and experimented with that. So that's what motivates me, is that I want to protect the family. So 15 years ago, one of my friends, I wasn't involved in the pro-family movement yet, one of my friends came and said, she had been at a World Congress actually, and she said, you have to learn about this. She says, there's this movement of trying to get conservative values or profoundly traditional value system back at the UN or protecting values that I believe in and that she believed in. And she said, come with me to the United Nations and we can meet with ambassadors and delegates. And that's kind of what I looked like, was like, no way, there's no way I'm doing that. And a lot of that came from my fear that I wasn't good enough and that I didn't have anything to say, and why would an ambassador care what I thought, right? Why would they care? Like, at that time I had 4 young children at home, and I'm like, why would they care, a housewife, what she has to say? But what I discovered is that I did have a voice when I was there. Not that I wasn't scared, because I was scared. I was scared when I went, right? But I did learn that I had some natural skills. I may not be proficient at legal language. That's not I'm learning, I'm trying to learn that, but that's not my natural talent. My natural talent and what my profession is I can communicate. I love developing relationships. I love people. I love knowing about people. Even if they feel different than me, I love learning about people's perceptions. I love to learn, and I love to listen and to share. And all those attributes are actually needed too at the United Nations, and when you're working with trying to advocate for something. All of these skills are important. Now, did I think they were important at first because I thought you had to know all this lingo and you had to be really extra smart? You don't. You don't need to be, that's somebody else. What I need to be is me, right? And these are the skills that I can bring, and I have witnessed that me bringing my own natural talent and skills has made a difference. And I have been able to have good discussions with ambassadors and delegates and do good networking that's helped the movement. So right now I'm involved in 2 things that I really enjoy. I'm concerned about the next generation. So I've been working on programs like the International Voice for Youth. And I'm helping, I can organize. That's one thing I can do, I can organize. So I have helped here, I'm the director of the Emerging Leader program here at the World Congress. And I just have to say, as an excuse for that, we're having some dilemmas with the scheduling with that. So if you see me texting over here, that's what it is. Because I have 300 young adults down below me that need my assistance. So that's, I think, if I'm on the texting, okay. But those are things that I can do. I can organize. So I find opportunities to organize, and that's what I did with the World Congress. I can organize events with the UN, and then I can network. I can bring other people to the UN. I brought college, I create programs where college students can come to the UN and learn about these issues. So I just want to give a real life experience. So in our everyday life, we can make a difference. So I walked into a restaurant, and it was a family-friendly restaurant, and there was a TV screen, and there was kind of racing images on the video where I felt uncomfortable. If my husband and kids were there, I would have felt extremely uncomfortable. So I wrote a letter to the restaurant, and I called the corporate office, and I said, what in the heck is happening? This is not a family-friendly video. And they actually took the video down, and I always say I got a free lunch too. They sent me a free lunch voucher, so you get a little perk there. And I wrote a blog for United Families International that went out to thousands of people, and I told my story. If you see something that's objectionable against your value system, take the time to write, take the time to pick up the phone, take the time to do something to remedy the situation. It may not always turn out like this, but in this situation, they changed the video. So every family that walks into that restaurant now is not seeing pornographic images. I wanted to share just quickly about one of our writers with United Families. She has 10 children. Her children are all young, 10 children, right? And she's actually one of our most popular writers for United Families. She writes to tens of thousands of people, right? She writes these alerts and blogs. And I asked her, how does she do this, or what motivated her to do this, right? And she said, I became concerned about issues surrounding family values and religious freedom. She said, I can no longer sit idly by as part of a silent majority. It took me a while to decide what I could do. She said she began to write, and now is a contributor for weekly alerts and blogs for United Families International. She said finding the time with 10 kids can be tricky. And quite a few of these kids do, okay? To write about family and freedom, I need to keep up on current events. The key for me seems to be a matter of scheduling. I take a break in the afternoons and read up on family news for about half an hour. Then I usually sit down to write Tuesday nights after I put the kids to bed. Since this is just part of our weekly routine, everything seems to work out. The time I have spent learning and teaching others about the family has been good for my kids. We talk about what I write. I'm like, if she can do something, we can all do something, right? I'm like, that's amazing. She's amazing. So what can you do? You can speak up. Your voice matters. I think that's the message, the main message, is I want everybody here to know that your voice matters. Every voice matters. Everyone has opinions about something, right? And you just need to share your value system and your opinions, your perception. You need to find out what you're concerned about and you're passionate about. You're more able to be, you're a better advocate when you're passionate about what you're talking about, right? You have to resonate with your message and what you're saying. You need to, let's see, some ideas that I threw out that I know people have gotten involved with is, some people are writing blogs. You know, we have this modern technology, and actually with United Families, we have actually found that writing is probably one of the most effective ways of advocacy now. I'm not that skilled of a writer, but thankfully we have Diane and other people who are very skilled writers, and they spend the time doing that. You can get involved with politics. You can be involved in community programs, and that can be your school program. It could be, you know, your local town program, whatever. Anything that helps to support and sustain the family and strengthen families. You can attend conferences like you are right now and go home and share with others what you've learned. We have social media. You can say, well, this is what I learned today. You're sharing a message, right? You can join and help with an organization. There's plenty of wonderful organizations out there that support families or strengthen families. You can join one of them and help. And you can influence within your circle. Our circles, our conversations are so important. Even with, I have a lot of family and friends that don't embrace the same value system I do, and it doesn't mean that we still can't have dialogue that's peaceful and that we're trying to still hear each other and understand each other where you're coming from. But I can still share my value system with them, and it's our circle of influence around us. So this is one of my favorite quotes. It's by Margaret Mead. It says, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has." And I like that because over the 15 years I've worked in, you know, like social work and also at the United Nations and advocacy work, I 100% believe this quote because I've witnessed it, I've seen it. It's people that are in motion that make the change. You have to be in motion. You have to be doing something. And like I said, if you're not in motion, somebody else is in motion. So my question to you is, what direction are you going and what are you going to do, right? And that's, I think, the point of this conference is everything you're hearing, what are you going to do with it? You have to take it and do something with it. If not, what's the point of being at this conference, right? We can learn it, but if we're not doing something, that's the issue. So that's my challenge to you guys, is to go and do. You have to go and do, okay? Everyone in here is committed to go and do something, okay? Thank you.
All right, while Chantal gets her things ready, I'd like to tell you a little bit more about her. Chantal Carr is the co-founder and a board member for Hope Arising, a nonprofit organization operating in Ethiopia that strengthens families to support and care for children orphaned or made vulnerable by disease, war, natural disaster, and extreme poverty. Before founding Hope Arising, Chantal served as president and a board member of another nonprofit working with orphans in Mozambique. She's experienced in grant writing and program evaluation. Chantal earned a master's in nonprofit studies at Arizona State University. Chantal, a mother of 4 children, enjoys water skiing and basketball. She became interested in helping women and orphans after the loss of 2 infant daughters. Welcome, Chantal.
Okay, like Kelly said, it's about motion. And the great thing about the 3 of us, Kelly's advocacy, I work in the field, in the programs, And Wendy has developed some of the phenomenal programs that we implement. So from 3 different perspectives, you're going to start to hear some similar patterns of how we get into the middle, because we didn't kind of expect that to happen. About 15 years ago, I was sitting in a chair and I listened to this midwife talk about putting together a birth kit that included a piece of plastic, a razor blade, alcohol wipe, and a shoelace. And she was teaching traditional birth assistants. They would do this, it could preserve the life of the mother and the life of the child. And I sat there, having just buried 2 babies, and I thought, I have these things in my house. I don't have to be a doctor to go help these mothers save their children. I can do something. But what do? I was sitting in the chair, I heard this story, I found this connection, but how you begin to get started? I had no clue where Mozambique was. So I just said to her, I want to help. What do I do? And she said, well, what do you know how to do? I said, I'm a teacher. And she said, super, we need a secretary. I'm like, close enough. How hard can it be, right? Okay, I sat in the first meeting and they start talking in the international community. A nonprofit is an NGO, a non-government organization. Pretty much their whole language is acronyms. I was wrong because I couldn't even take notes on all the letters that they were saying in their meetings. And I just thought, wow, I'm in over my head at the secretary role. I should just stuff envelopes. So this is the first gem I learned. You show up. This midwife was going to have a little, she was having actually a big event, and we were bringing the items and we were assembling birthing kits. And so I thought, I can do that. I will gather these things. I will go. But look, this is the challenge. It is never that simple, is it? Because I had all these little kids, and they all had like soccer games and birthday parties, and it's always the exact same hour. You have to divide and conquer. And so it required a lot of effort, not just on my part, but I have this remarkable spouse who was willing to hold down the fort while I decided to go show up and try and do something to help these women in Ethiopia. So I went. The next gem that you'll start to hear a continuous pattern of, sometimes you have to learn something new. I was sitting in that meetings. I had to learn a whole new language of NGOEs. And I started learning all about third world developing countries and their challenges, and it was not anything my mind had ever seriously considered before. But it is invigorating, and it's inspiring, and this is your warning, it is highly, highly addicting. Highly addicting. You get started, and you start to get some momentum in learning, and say, you know what, I can get plastic and shoelaces, and it's fun, and it makes a difference. And the great thing about this is it involves your kids. I got my kids going. Now, you don't have to get a master's degree all the time, although we all ended up with them. But when I started, I got to the point where I needed more information. I just did not know enough, and I took on the task of a master's degree with my kids and my husband's tremendous support. And I'll tell you what, in the course of my effort to help these women, my kids got a great education themselves. Our family became stronger as we worked together on all of this. And I'll tell you what, they know that education matters. They saw their mom do it. And our work in Ethiopia, we do so much to help the mothers in Ethiopia get their children into school. I'll get to that in a little bit. That's actually the fun part about it. As I went to Ethiopia and to Mozambique, the next thing that you'll learn, and it applies in any sector of the community that you work in, you have to believe in the people. You have to see the good. You have to become a chronic optimist. People who influence us are people who believe in us. Always give the benefit of the doubt. Put the best construct on. If we want to elevate and help others and have them be successful, it's directly related to our belief in Him. To see the good in others is the single great secret of personal influence. To see the good in others, the single great influence of personal influence. Okay, so next thing I know, I landed myself in Ethiopia. And I'd been doing orphan work, but when I got to the town where we actually just went to scout it out. We had no intentions. We had friends that lived there who was one of the tribal leaders. They knew we were doing some work in Mozambique, and they said, please come to our town. And I kind of said the same thing Kelly did. No thanks. I was in the middle of my master's. We were doing things in Mozambique. How do you add another country into that mix? But my friend, I had a persistent friend, and I said, well, we'll just go look. That's your next warning. That is your next warning. You're going to look. We ended up in a town called Dera, Ethiopia, and they had not had rain for 15 months. They had gathered all of the people together, and they had prepared this beautiful presentation. We thought like Angelina Jolie was coming or something. They had roses and water and mango, which it looked like the moon. It was just solid dust. There was no green. We were like, where did they get the roses from? It's a mystery I still to this day. I have no idea. I don't know. So we got there and they started telling us we don't have water. We cannot bathe our children. We cannot feed our children. We cannot embalm our dead. Our children have dropped out of school. They're looking for water. And my friend and I are saying, do you know anything about water? I don't know anything about water. Nothing. And this is how the project, this is how the work goes. It's just so muddy and messy, and you find yourself in these predicaments. And this Muslim imam said to me, we have no rain. We have prayed, and you will be our rain. We're thinking, doesn't the Lord have anything better than us? We don't know anything. So we had to build a water pipeline. It was a $1.2 million water project. We became the last $250,000 and we've been waiting for 5 years. And we said we will donate the main pipe. We won't give cash, but we will buy the pipe. We came home. I looked at my friend, do you know how to fundraise? No, I don't know how to fundraise. You got a grant, buy a little grants. We just went to work, and we have done everything under the sun. We have sold purses, we've done golf, we sell credit card services and dental. I mean, you name it, we have done it. And we did complete, it took 3 years, a lot of obstacles, constant chronic obstacles, which leads to my gem. You just persevere. It is muddy, messy work. It never goes the way you planned it. We have a phrase, we take medical and dental teams to Ethiopia twice a year. We have to prepare them with a little phrase we call TIA. This is Africa. So we're going to make this plan, and then we're going to land, and then we're going to do something probably entirely different. And you just have to kind of roll with that. And some Americans aren't great rollers. But we work on it. In persevering, there is one gem of field work I really want you to come away with, because it's true in whatever community you work with. There are always two different groups of people you'll find in the community. You will find that there are the very poor and the very needy. On the right is my friend Amina. She's blind, and that's one of the roses from the day that we went the first time to Ethiopia. She had waited with the yellow jerry can for water for 15 days, and the government trucked in water to keep those people alive at that point. You'll always have a segment of the community that is really old, really sick, or really young. In Ethiopia, it's 6 million orphans. Lots of orphans. And they need direct assistance. A water line. We gave them a pipeline. Direct assistance to solve this. On the left is my friend Meselash, and she is pouring the traditional injera bread that they sell in Ethiopia. And she is a needy person. She is able-bodied. She is willing. She simply does not have opportunity to knowledge and opportunity. She doesn't have it. Most of the women that we work with have a 3rd grade education or they're completely illiterate. And so what we've started, and this is my favorite part of everything I've ever done, we do small business loans for these women, about $200. They usually start bread making, baskets, they do a lot of sheep, but they can take their income from $3 a month to around $45 a month, feed all of their family, all their extended family, feed all their children in school, and save. We have a requirement for savings. This is how we measure impact, because we drive the ratio they spend on food. They spend 100% trying to get enough food. With our small business loans, we've had some get down to 25% on food. That means they have 75% of their income to take care of their children, to feed them, to send them to school. So I don't have to pay for their school fees every year. I just have to give these women opportunity and knowledge, and they are tremendously successful and tremendously inspiring. Last, the gift. This is the most important part. Do not forget to share your experience serving with your family. Throughout me, my children and my husband have been a significant part. I took those kids to Ethiopia, and they saw their schools, and they helped build a school, they helped build a kitchen, they helped in the dental clinic. My youngest son in the far left corner did his Eagle project, and he took soccer shirts for the after-school HIV/AIDS club, and he delivered it to those kids, and they played soccer, and it has changed them. And as a mother, this was the biggest gift that I didn't expect. In the course of all of this experience, my family became the greatest benefactor. My family needed them far more than they needed us. And so no matter what your community looks like or where it is, you will find these little pieces of gems that help you move along to have an experience in the community that you're working. Thank you for being here and sharing this with us today.
Thank you for that. Our final speaker today will be Wendy W. Sheffield. Wendy W. Sheffield is the Director of Field Education for the School of Social Work at Brigham Young University. Wendy has been teaching in the School of Social Work for the past 20 years and also worked as the Associate Director of Field Education. She has extensive clinical experience in counseling women, children, youth, and families in outpatient, residential treatment, and school settings. Prior to being the Associate Director of Field Education, Wendy was the Clinical Director of a school for children and youth with serious emotional difficulties. Wendy Sheffield is the author of Stay Alive, I Will Live a Long, Loving Life, a skills and family-based HIV/AIDS prevention education program. This 5-module program, written for children ages 9 to 14, is being implemented with amazing success in numerous African countries. Wendy is also the first author of the Family Enrichment Program, a guide for strengthening families through weekly family night. The Family Enrichment Program has been published in numerous languages and is being used throughout the United States and in more than 40 countries worldwide to strengthen families. She, her husband, and their 3 children live in Pleasant Grove, Utah. Thank you, Wendy.
Wait until you see if you like it, because you may want me to go home.
You guys get to see all my icons up there.
It's
up there.
I cannot stand behind the podium. So Erica's agreed to push the buttons for me. The nice thing about it is I can't even push buttons. I am actually married to, my husband's here in the back there, so when you see this light, he's over here. Okay. I am a technological idiot. I'm a nerd, I'm a geek, and I'm very inept. But there are things that I can do. And so I am going to have people to push my buttons. Oh, that sounded funny. There's a lot of people who push my buttons and my triggers. I am Wendy Sheffield. I do teach at the Brigham University School of Social Work. And I have had a lot of experience in working with a lot of people. I love people. I love people from all across the world, from all tongues, all races, all lifestyles. I love people, and that is why I do what I do. I did not start out having any desire to write programs that would be used around the world. That is not that was never a desire for me. My desire was always to help people. And I remember 30-some years ago, sitting in college and saying, you know, someday I want to do something. But I knew I had nothing to give. So I went to school. This is one of the programs that I ended up writing. And there were some in the back. I don't know if you picked one up. Feel free to do that. I think there were English ones back there and Spanish ones back there that LDS Humanitarian Services let me bring. This is the Family Enrichment Program. And FEP teaches how to strengthen families through weekly family night. Now, for most of you, in fact, by participation, how many of you in here have ever heard of the concept of family night? By a raise of hands. Okay, not a new idea to us. It is a very new idea to many, many people. Let me share with you how the idea came. It came one night when my youngest son, who is now a senior in high school, was sick. He was 6 months old. And what happens when your babies are sick? Okay, you hold them. And when they go to sleep, you put them down and they wake up. And I remember going, somebody has got to get some sleep tonight. And obviously it's not going to be me. So I was holding this little boy, and I started reading through a magazine. And in the magazine, I read about a research project that Columbia University was doing. And it was trying to strengthen families. And the thought came into my mind, they need a manual that will teach them how to hold family night, and you are to write it. Jump ahead now, 15, 16 years, and you have FEP. The Family Enrichment Program talks about the benefits of holding weekly family night, how to organize a family night, how to hold an effective family night, and then it has 10 sample lessons. Not that these are the lessons that families are supposed to give, because every family is different, right? All families look different, but every single family that I have ever met worldwide can use some strengthening. And these are common things that clinical research has proven that all families need in order to be strong. They need family togetherness, individual talents and how individual talents will strengthen our families, playing together, family communication, problem solving and decision making, anger management and nonviolent behavior, family work and responsibilities, family service in our communities, and family traditions. That Family Enrichment Program has been used in 47 countries worldwide. That blows me away. It's been used in Albania, American Samoa, Angola, Armenia, Brazil, Cambodia, Canada, Cape Verde, the Czech Republic, Dominican Republic, Ecuador, Egypt, Ethiopia, Germany, Ghana, Guatemala, Guyana, Haiti, Hong Kong, Indonesia, Japan, Jordan, Malaysia, Mexico, Mongolia, Nicaragua, the Palestinian Territory, Paraguay, Philippines, Romania, Russia, St. Vincent, Samoa, Serbia, Slovakia, South Africa, South Korea, Sri Lanka, Taiwan, Tonga, Trinidad and Tobago, Turkey, Uganda, Ukraine, all 50 of the United States, Vietnam, and Zimbabwe. Does that blow you away? Okay. It has been translated into 14 languages. English, Arabic, Mandarin Chinese, French, Korean, Japanese, Russian, Vietnamese, Indonesian, Portuguese, Albanian, Swedish, Tagalog, and Spanish. It is published and distributed by LDS Charities and LDS Humanitarian Services. One of the things that we're going to talk about a little bit later is that I believe very, very much in each one of us developing and recognizing our own individual strengths. Guys, I could not in any way, shape, or form have done this just as Wendy. I write. Remember, we go back to the very beginning, the nerd, the geek. I couldn't do this, but there are people who can. And all I needed to do was do my part. One of the things that's very important to my husband and I is that nothing that I write, all of it is copyrighted. And it is copyrighted because nothing that I write can be used for any financial gain. No one gets any money from any sale of any family enrichment program books or Stay Alive books or any of my programs. We don't get any royalties because to me, you don't sell truth. And I think what we're doing is true. The second program I wrote is called Stay Alive, I Will Live a Long Living Life. It is a culturally sensitive, structured abstinence and family-based HIV/AIDS prevention and life skills education program. Let me explain that a little bit. One of my pet peeves are people coming in and telling other people how they have to live or that they have to adopt their value system. That's not me. It is especially detrimental when Western society comes into another society, such as in the African countries, and tells them this is the way you have to live. Okay? This is not Western values coming to Africa. This is helping Africa reinstate their own natural values. And we have done a lot of focus groups and talking to a lot of people in different African countries to make sure that that happens. What does it mean when it says family-based? You cannot impact and make lasting change in the life of a child unless you talk and work with their families. I have found that those families may take many different faces and many different forms. In Africa, some of these children's families are each other, okay? They are each other's support system, okay? And so when we say it's family-based, what I am saying is that one of the key elements of support system is to be able to engage the family in the solution, okay? It's taught to children and youth, age 9 to 14. It brings the children and youth, their families, caregivers, teachers, community, and government officials together to fight AIDS. Stay Alive is first and foremost a skills training program. Okay? Psychobabble, it's cognitive behavioral theory, okay? Consequential thinking skills, problem solving skills. It encourages hope by teaching children and youth the skills and abilities they need to remain disease-free and live long, loving lives. Many of these children have been born with AIDS, and they need to know that that is not a death sentence for them. They can live, and they can live long. And what they need to do to be able to do that and to be happy is to utilize the resources and skills and medical advances that are before them. It helps children and youth understand that happiness can be found in healthy and loving families. The guiding principles of the Stay Alive program are hope, empowerment, consequential thinking skills, individual worth, responsible decision-making skills, integrity, abstinence and fidelity, family, and emotionally healthy relationships. It has been taught to over 2 million African children and their families. That's 2 million children. That doesn't include all of their families and their siblings. It's being taught in 14 African countries, including Ethiopia, Ghana, Kenya, Ivory Coast, Liberia, Mozambique, Namibia, Nigeria, Somalia, South Africa, Swaziland, Tanzania, Uganda, and Zambia. This is how the three of us came to know each other. Kelli was the International Stay Alive Director. She did all the work, okay? And Chantal oversaw this in Mozambique. Next slide. This is our Stay Alive team. Up here in the far right, you will see Susan Roylance. You will hear her later on. This was Susan's original idea, and she developed the program there. All I do is write. From my little office when my kids, at home, when my kids are asleep. United Families International was the original developmental organization, and Reach the Children is solely responsible for the administration and distribution of the Stay Alive program. As you can see, I don't distribute or administer these programs. LDS Humanitarian Services does the Family Enrichment Program, and Reach the Children does Stay Alive. This is my most important family work. To me, anything else pales to this, because these are the ones that I love. Next one. Okay, how many of you have ever heard of Sesame Street? Okay, so help me out here. Okay, I want you to sing with me. Sing, sing a song, make it simple to last your whole life long. Don't worry that it's not good enough for anyone else to hear. Just sing, sing a song. So what does that have to do with this? Guys, I think what we need to do is just sing. And how do we sing? S, search. Seek for and learn truths that will strengthen families. There are some key things that all families, regardless of their constellation, need in order to be strong. Okay? Seek for those and find them. Study. Guys, each and every one of us need to develop a knowledge and a skill set that will allow us to serve others. I heard someone once say that the difference between wanting to serve and being able to serve is an education. Okay? Education does not have to be in a university. Okay? We are in a beautiful time of the world's history that we can educate ourselves in so many, many different ways. And then share. Share what you have learned in effective, enriching, and creative ways. A lot of people say to me that I live in a bubble. And guys, I do. I live in a bubble. And my goal is to expand my bubble because I want people to be happy. Because it goes back. I love people. Okay? I is inspiration. Seek for inspiration in your efforts to strengthen your families. Almost every religious affiliation believes in a higher power who's concerned about and wants to help families. Guys, I have talked to people all over the world. And most people, I can't say everyone, but most people have a belief in some higher power. For some people, that is nature. For some people, that is God. For some people, as it is for me, it is what I call Heavenly Father. For some people, it is Allah. A man in Indonesia said to me, he said, Wendy, he said, you call him Heavenly Father, some people call him God, and I call him Allah. But we all worship the same being. Seek for inspiration from your own value system, whatever that may be. Consider your circle of influence. With whom do you interact and connect? And work to expand that circle of influence. And network and partner with people and organizations who are also working to strengthen families. Guys, alone, we will never be as strong as we could be with someone else. Again, I come back to all I do is write. Okay? LDS Charities, Reach the Children, United Families, they are administering these programs. They're the ones doing the real work. And then you'll see the little picture of my husband there. Guys, he's my most important partner. I love him with all my heart. I could not do life without him. And in fact, one of my greatest fears is that someday I'll have to. Guys, I really hope that you will be able to find people who can network with you and support you and partner with you as I have been able to, because those partnerships in my life have brought me great joy. G is develop your individual talents and gifts. Everyone has been given different gifts. one of the scriptures I read is, to some is given one, and to some is given another, that all may profit thereby. I can't do what Kelly does. I certainly cannot do what Chantal does. But can you do what I do? No. And you know what, guys? It's okay. All you have to do is what you yourself were divinely endowed with the power to do. And I can't tell you what it is. But if you will listen, you will know. And then give. Give without expectation or recognition. Guys, it's not about you. It's about strengthening families. This is actually my 4th World Congress on Families. I am starting to really feel like a dinosaur. I was telling the emerging leaders on Monday night, that my mother has moved into my bathroom. You know, she's there as I look in the mirror. And one of the sad things, guys, that I have seen that has happened is that when people start making this about them, when they want the name, or when they start making money on it, or when they start imposing themselves onto other people. Guys, another G I would add there is get over yourself. Nobody is indispensable, but all of us can assist. Guys, don't worry that it's not good enough for anybody else to hear. Just sing. Our hope as we work together and as we chat with you is that you guys, somewhere inside of this last hour that we have been together, have felt some desire to share something in a positive, uplifting, enriching way with the people who matter to you. Guys, just sing.